Hello, and welcome to 10 Minutes of English Every Day, brought to you by Break It Down. I'm really glad you're here. If you've been learning English for a long time, but still don't feel confident speaking, today's episode is for you. This is 10 Minutes of English Every Day, where we break English learning down into simple, practical ideas that actually help you communicate. Let's get started. There's something interesting about learning English. The longer we study, the more likely we are to search for a so-called secret method. One day, someone says, if you want to speak naturally, you have to do shadowing. So you download a shadowing app. A few days later, another video tells you, forget shadowing. Just watch English movies. So the app is abandoned, and you subscribe to Netflix instead. A week later, someone else says, podcasts are the real secret. That's how native speakers learn. Before you know it, your phone has 5 English learning apps, 20 YouTube playlists, and hundreds of saved videos. Yet your listening skills haven't really improved. If this sounds familiar, the problem may not be that you're lazy. It may simply be that you're using the right method. It's at the wrong time. Let's take shadowing as an example. You've probably heard this advice before. Want to speak English naturally? Shadow every day. And that's true. Shadowing can be incredibly effective. But there's one thing people don't mention very often. Shadowing isn't magic. It won't turn someone who barely understands English into a confident speaker in just a few weeks. Imagine hearing this sentence. I should have told you earlier. To you, it might sound like, I, shoe, to, lee, Meanwhile, your brain is thinking, sorry. System error. You don't understand the sentence. You don't recognize the sounds. But you're still trying to copy them. The result. You're practicing the pronunciation of something you don't even understand. It's a bit like singing an English song perfectly, without knowing whether it's about heartbreak. Or ordering pizza. You're copying sounds. You're not really learning the language. Now imagine someone else. They already understand quite a lot of spoken English. They know basic vocabulary. They can follow most conversations. But when they speak, they still sound a little like a textbook. For example, they say, I want to go to the store. Every word is correct. The grammar is correct. But a native speaker might naturally say, I want to go to the store. This is where shadowing becomes incredibly useful. Because their problem isn't understanding English. Their challenge is turning textbook English into real-life English. So shadowing isn't good or bad. The real question is it solving your problem? Here's another piece of advice that's even more common. Watch lots of English movies, and your listening will improve naturally. It sounds logical. I used to believe it too. Until I realized something that was a little painful. Some people finish 5 seasons of an American TV show. But when a foreigner asks, how's it going? They still need 3 seconds to process the question. Why? Because watching movies isn't the same as practicing listening. When you're watching a movie, your brain is busy doing many things. Who's the good guy? What's happening? Why is that character crying? And only after all that do you think, Wait, what did they just say? You're enjoying a story. You're not always training your ears. That doesn't mean you should stop watching movies. Not at all. Movies are wonderful learning tools. You just need to use them at the right stage. A complete beginner watching an English movie without subtitles is like someone walking into the professional weightlifting section on their very first day at the gym. It looks inspiring. But 10 minutes later, they just want to go home. The same idea applies to podcasts. Podcasts are fantastic, but they aren't always the best place to start. If you listen to a 30-minute podcast, and at the end, the only thing you remember is, I think they were talking about work, then that material is probably too difficult for you right now. You don't need the hardest content. You need content your brain can actually process. Real progress happens when you understand most of what you hear, while still feeling slightly challenged. Not when you understand almost nothing, and simply hope your brain figures it out. There's another mistake I see all the time. People copy someone else's study routine. A YouTuber says, I studied English 3 hours every day. And you think, great, I'll do the same. But you forget something important. Maybe that person is a university student. Maybe they're preparing for IELTS. Maybe they have 5 free hours every day. What about you? Perhaps you work 8 hours a day. By the time you get home, you only have 30 minutes left. So why would you use someone else's schedule? For your own life. And that's the idea I really want you to remember today. There is no best app. There is no best method. There isn't one perfect learning plan that works for everyone. One person struggles because they don't know enough vocabulary. Another struggles because they can't recognize natural pronunciation. Someone else is afraid of making mistakes. Another person simply can't stay consistent. 4 different learners. 4 different problems. So why should they all follow exactly the same solution? Before asking, what's the most effective way to learn English? Try asking a different question. What's actually stopping me from improving? Because once you understand the real problem, you don't need to study more. You simply need to study smarter. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. This has been 10 minutes of English every day from Break It Down. If you enjoyed today's episode, I hope you'll join me again for the next one. See you in the next episode.